Cheap eBay N64 controller review. This is a review of those cheap N64 controllers that are currently being sold on eBay for about $10. This is what you'll get if you type N64 controller into eBay and then sort it to price lowest first, and these generally ship from China or Hong Kong. These are not the TTX branded N64 controllers, those ones are slightly different. First off, these come in no retail packaging. When they come here, they're just in the standard Chinese postage mail bag. The plastic casing is obviously a bit cheaper than a real deal N64 controller, and you can feel that. It's a bit lighter, but overall it feels okay and solid enough. Now, differences from a standard N64 controller that's branded by Nintendo. First of all, aesthetic differences. The branding over the top that would normally say Nintendo is just a gloss finish in this. The same with the Nintendo branding that's normally on the plug. Also on the back, where branded controllers normally have the licensing and part number information, this is also just a simple gloss finish. And of course, they also come in this color, which is the exact same color as the base console unit of the N64, which Nintendo didn't actually offer themselves. The final cosmetic change from the standard ones is that all colors of plug of these controllers are gray, whereas on real deal N64 controllers, they will be the color of the controller. Not come with its plug like this, I painted it like this. Another cosmetic difference is the clip here that holds in your rumble packs and so on. This clip is the same color as the Z, L, and R buttons, whereas usually they are the standard controller gray. Now moving on to buttons. The buttons on these controllers are slightly taller than standard N64 buttons. They have a bit more travel to them, a bit more springiness. They also have a matte finish with gloss finish for the letters, whereas a standard one will have gloss finish all over. It's the face buttons. Start button is about the same as a standard controller. And the D-pad is slightly taller than a standard D-pad. Now the result of this extra travel, I kind of like it. It gives you just a bit more feedback when you press a button in a game. Your mileage may vary with it though. Buttons aren't quite as precise a fit as in the real deal controller, so there is a bit of wiggle around that you tend to get with kind of cheaper controllers because they are sticking out a bit more, so they're not as grounded. However, you know, whether or not you like that is something that's purely subjective. But for some games I like it, but I imagine for like real button mashes and fighting games you probably won't. The D-pad I think is better than a standard D-pad. It just feels that little bit crisper and gets you that little bit more tactile sort of feedback as you go. L, R, and Z. These buttons are essentially the same as their real counterparts, except for the lettering is not matte as it is in the standard N64 controller, it is gloss. The shoulder buttons do have a bit of a uniformity issue. The left feels slightly more mushy than the right, but that's to be expected when you're dealing with this kind of low cost. The binning process will not be as rigorous and quality can be a bit up in the air. This could be because of the fact that the casing on this controller doesn't quite come together on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side does, but on the left it doesn't. Again, this is just due to the quality. However, I can't really see this bothering anyone in a game. It's very rare to have an instance in an N64 game where you will need to game with both the R and the L button at the same time, because normally you'll be holding, you know, one or the other. So this is not likely to bother you. The Z button, again, has extra travel over the standard N64 counterpart, which again makes it feel a little bit more clicky. I think this is a good thing. The controller cable is about a foot or 30 centimeters longer than a normal N64 controller, and doesn't have the same kind of rubbery wire that the Nintendo ones did. This cable is more akin to that of a PS2 controller. That makes sense. The original N64 ones were very rubbery and they didn't tend to kink if they were kept tied up for long, but these ones do. But that's not a bad thing, as it can help with storage if you don't play your N64 all the time, and there's really not that much of a problem. Also, with the quality of the casing, on all controllers I've seen of these, there has been slight molding marks from the D-pad into the handle and from the stick into the center handle, but these really aren't all that noticeable. Now for the stick. Now this controller here has had very little play, and the stick feels quite stiff. All controllers like this, when they come in, I assume they feel very stiff, which is better than it being loose. However, I've been playing with this controller for a couple months, and the stick, after a couple good hours of play, does loosen up significantly. It has not yet gotten to the point of this real deal controller. However, then again, this controller is about 20 years old. So basically, the sticks become very stiff and they loosen with time. In terms of differences with the stick is ever so slightly taller than the Nintendo sticks. This isn't really that noticeable, but it's a thing. But the big difference between this one and the Nintendo one is that the standard Nintendo sticks are convex, meaning that they hump over the top, whereas this one is ever so slightly concave, meaning that it's kind of like a bowl on the very top of the stick. Because of this, with a standard N64 controller, you tend to put your thumb straight over the top like this. But with this one, it kind of encourages you to put the middle of your thumb on it, like this. After extended play of over about 30 minutes or so, this does become a little bit irritating to my thumb, to the point where if I'm gaming with one of these, I usually just put on a disposable felt glove, just so it's that bit more comfortable. So this could be a deal breaker for some people, so that's something to factor in if you're thinking about getting one of these. In terms of the sensitivity of the stick versus this one, Using analogs in Mario Kart 64 and Mario 64, I did observe there to be slightly fewer degrees of sensitivity in the knockoff controller versus the real one. However, this could be due to the fact that this stick is a deal stiffer. In any case, I found it to be perfectly adequate and certainly better than the GameCube style stick replacements that you can find on eBay for true controllers. These controllers have full functionality with all the N64 accessories like your rumble packs, your memory packs, your transfer packs. Now I did have a little problem when I was buying these controllers. The first one I bought was this one, and I know it's this one because I painted the tip to match the controller. I bought this and it was the same color as the console, and eventually I got to the point where I wanted to buy a second controller because I bought these were the only controllers I have. I didn't have any other N64 controllers at the time. And I ordered the black one so that it'd look a bit better stylistically. However, I was sent another dark grey one. Now they did end up giving me a partial refund. However, at the end of the day, I bought a listing which was only for black controllers, and I was sent the dark grey. So if you want a black one, just be careful you specify black and are prepared to be disappointed if it happens. So to my overall opinion, these controllers for playing standard N64 games are not the best. However, they are perfectly adequate for the price of about $8 if you don't have any other controllers, or your sticks are dead in your Nintendo brand controllers. Sticks are a little different, and I would advise using gloves for long-term play, but this isn't too much of a problem. One thing these are great for is if you want some Mario Party controllers, if you don't want to sacrifice the sticks of these ones because they're getting harder and harder to find, just buy 4 of these for about $30 or so, and just use them as Mario Party controllers. They start a lot stiffer, so they'll last a bit longer, and just put the punishment out there and just treat them as disposable. Another good thing I'd recommend these controllers for is if you only had something like Retrobit or a Yobo, one of these smaller handled controllers, which I know a lot of people do and don't have one of these, and you want to play something like Pokemon Stadium or something which requires the use of the D-pad, this does have a very nice D-pad, and it has a lot better weight balance than even the standard N64 controller because it's a bit lighter. And again, some people do like heavier controllers, but yeah. So, and with these Retrobit controllers, it just doesn't have very good weight balance for long-term play of both like the left and right handles. So having just one of these on hand for like Pokemon Stadium and that kind of thing, just so it's a bit more comfortable, could be a useful thing to have. So that has been my review of the cheap N64 controllers currently available on eBay. If you have any other questions about these controllers, please post them in the comments and I will endeavor to get back to you. I hope that has helped you make your decision of whether or not to purchase one of these controllers. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Purchase one of these Oh no! Oh! I shouldn't have sat on my feet for that long. Oh, freak!